What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of What's the Dealio? I am Jay Ciano, founder, Sabre Advisors, SBX, the Sabre Business Exchange, and Scale Franchise Solutions.
My name is Mike Steinberg, Headstone Business Advisors, and today we have such a great guest from Serhant, Julia Krispeal.
Hey guys, how are you?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Julia, I've been so excited to have you on the show. We have a bunch of history. We are working on some great stuff together.
Yep.
We're going to get into all that. But first, who is Julia Krispeal?
I'm still trying to figure her out. So thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I love the big energy that we came in with, like 9:30 a.m., like jolts of coffee.
Let's go.
Or jolts of green juice and cryo and ice baths. So yes, guys, I am a native Long Islander. I now currently live on the North Shore. I'm a South Shore girl, moved up to the North, and I am a mom of two boys. A little bit about me. My boys are 11 and almost 9 years old. I am a widow also, so not that I gracefully talk about it, but I do talk about it. I'm very open about it for the last year. I am a real estate agent, but I've been in the business for 4 years, only 4 short years. So to those agents that say I've been doing this for 30, let's revamp that a little bit.
And you're killing it in 4 short years.
I'm trying to kill it, and I'm crushing it, so I could confidently say that. I've built a nice reputation for myself, and I'm very proud of where I am now. I come from a corporate meeting and event planning background. I planned for Fortune 500 companies in New York City and consulted for a while for 17 years. Then COVID hit, and all of that went down into the toilets, and had to revamp and figure out what my next step was. And here I am. So a little bit about me in a nutshell.
So you started during COVID?
Yes.
Like right before COVID?
Yep, I literally got licensed right at the beginning of COVID, and I just, that was quite the journey.
So when COVID happened, like, how did you pivot and get to where you are?
So I luckily was working with an incredible mentor at my previous company. He took me under his wing, taught me a lot. I was very, very close to giving up after not doing any deals, after not making any money, and also struggling as a sole income provider for my family while my husband was dealing with a terminal illness for so many years. And I had to figure out how to just keep going and making sure that I was able to sustain not only my children and myself, but also figure out the care that my husband needed at the time. So it was just part of the journey.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Julia, we know each other for some time now, and you're such an inspiration. You always have a smile on your face. You crush all areas of life. And I think for the listeners, I'll give a little context, like kind of, rewind the tape a little bit about how we met and kind of how we got here today. So Ryan Serhant and I have been friends for, at this point, I don't know, it's probably, you call it 2016 or so. We were introduced by a mutual friend, did some things together essentially on the residential side, and obviously I focus on the commercial side. I was with Ryan, and he was telling me that he was looking to expand into Long Island, and I actually had a friend that was looking to sell a home on the Gold Coast, and told him that my network on Long Island is obviously pretty vast, and I would love to go to the network and help him build Long Island. And we set out to do that. He made some intros to some folks on his end that were coming back to Long Island essentially to help him start it. And you and I have a bunch of mutual friends, and I kept hearing your name, and when people were associating me with Serhant Long Island, your name came up many times as somebody who, is really kind of on the cutting edge, innovative, and super, super hardworking. And that's how essentially this all came about. But the reality is, I'm starting to think about it right now. You were like the number 2 agent maybe at Serhant Long Island. Am I right?
I think I was.
I think
yes.
you were.
Yeah,
which
but
is
wow.
Yeah.
I think I might be number 1 now. but
Yeah,
we're not sure. We'll see.
well, number 2 meaning like the second agent to
yes.
actually be on Long Island for
Sorry.
Serhant.
You are number one.
No, I mean that's a better story. Hopefully, you are number 1 because I can take credit for it.
Exactly.
So you introduced her to Serhant?
Yeah, so
Wow.
I brought Julia into Serhant.
Yep.
Wow.
We had a meeting, through obviously one of our mutual connections. Went to Starbucks, had a nice conversation, and that's how it all started.
Yeah,
Wow.
But it's all I kid about taking the credit for it. It's all
It's okay.
and I will. But in all seriousness, you like from that first time that I met you, we all know like when somebody has like the it factor, and most importantly like grit and resilience, and you've been forced to have that through life circumstances and so on and so forth. And I'm just super pumped to see you where you're at today, and
Thank you.
like I celebrate that in such a major way. It's great to see you in the position you're in.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, and thank you for bringing me on board and introducing me. I think it was the right timing, and it was the right situation. And I always say there's thousands of agents and there's thousands of companies out there, and if you don't try, you will never know to see what else is out there and what the new trends could be. And education wise, we're all still learning every single day.
I love that.
Absolutely.
And I think a natural segue right here is social media, because the 3 of us are super active in it. Let's talk a little bit about that, like personal branding and how to leverage it to build your business. And since I feel like I'm constantly interrupting Mike, I'm going to pass this one to Mike.
No, you're doing a great job. I mean, everyone has a personal brand, right? And it's all about how you look at it. Everything is I was never on Instagram, and I told the guy that works for me on Instagram every single day, you have to post a video every single day. We cannot miss one day. You just got to get in front of people. You got to just let people know what you're doing. Everyone has to see what you're doing. And
How's that working out for you?
I mean, it only helps. Free advertising, right? You're big on social media as well, right?
Absolutely. Well, what I've learned is that nobody wants a secret agent, right? And the majority of clientele that are buying and selling, they're on their phones, they're online, they're not, and again, someone like my parents who are older, they're not scrolling, although they sometimes scroll and try to figure it out. The majority of people that are shopping are looking at different ways of finding. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
inventory.
losing train of thought right now. I'm distracted.
No, you're so
for a second,
right.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Right. So, and the reality is people want authenticity, right? And they want to see that somebody is real. And yes, I showcase everything. I showcase my children. I showcase real estate. I showcase my journey with dealing with a terminally ill husband. And I'm very open about all of it, and widowhood and entrepreneurship and everything. And social media has definitely helped that, because it helps you to connect with all different types of people. So if you see any of my followers or any of the people that I've connected with over the last few years that I've built my Instagram and my social media platforms, which I'm still trying to now expand and get to the next, to the other platforms as well. People do connect on many different levels, and they reach out for different purposes. So I might have agents reaching out, asking if I have anything that's coming to market, or they like something that I showed. Can you please, tell me where you got that, or where is this, and who is that? Who are you using? Different resources. And I love to be that connector. I love that, I did that in my previous business. I was connecting, as a liaison with different meeting planners and the luxury lifestyle of hotels around the world, and creating these conferences. And that's what I did. I was a corporate meeting planner. So I have transpired that into real estate. And I think with social media, that's been a huge factor for me in really just showing up and showing my authentic self and really relating to a lot of different people. So another example is, as much as I don't want to live in this like negative, sad lifestyle of, this journey that I've been on with my husband before he passed away with ALS, I was very quiet about it for a very long time. But once I started becoming more open publicly, a lot of other people and organizations started reaching out to me asking for support and help. So it could be a patient asking, how did you get the nursing care? How did you get the equipment? How did you navigate? What are the doctors who are the doctors that you went to? And, what came out of it, right? So that becomes a conversation in itself. Then it becomes, okay, part of my day-to-day business, now it's real estate. Okay, where is this property? Wow, I love that you got on a Segway and started rolling around showcasing a house. So how do you differentiate? Because you know what? There's millions of people in this world, billions of people in this world, and there's only one of you, right? And sure. I love to say that there's only one of me. And how am I authentic to not just myself, but also to like my clients and also to everybody else that I'm showcasing myself to publicly.
Yeah, you said a lot there, and to unpack that, it's in my opinion, if you're in a sales role, it is so important in today's world to be leveraging social media. But and by the way, I wouldn't know Ryan Serhant if it wasn't for that, and if he wasn't as bought into, obviously leveraging his brand that he built on television. It's a little bit different, but like early days back in 2016, 17, Ryan didn't even have a vlog, right? Like he was, and actually, I met Ryan early in our relationship. Essentially, he was doing an event with Gary Vaynerchuk that he actually invited me to, like a very small fireside chat, and that actually was the day that he was launching his vlog, and he was talking about how he never really gave social media and YouTube and those platforms real, like he didn't think they were powerful, essentially, because he was on real television, right? So, and then fast forward to now, right. His vlog and everything that he's done essentially by developing his social platforms are have way more views than most television shows, right? So it's and then he's taken that and essentially built a residential real estate company, leveraging his media company and his media brilliance, essentially, right? And I think I've taken pages from his book. I was doing it, before he and I met, but watching him do what he's done and then watching him leave his previous brokerage, Nest Seekers, and then leverage all of his social and awareness and visibility, all of that to create a company that did $1 billion, I think, in its first 12 months. You can't do that shit by shaking individual hands. You have to do it by leveraging these media platforms to shake hands.
It's the volume game, right?
That's what it is. So when I asked you, Mike, earlier, how's that working out for you? I mean, I know the answer.
It's an untapped market what I'm in. So
yeah, but you've also from when we first met, and you weren't extremely active on social.
I wasn't, no.
And I'm like, dude, you just need to basically amp this shit up. You're like, I'm gonna do that.
You opened my eyes up when you said that.
Yeah, but you literally have blown up since then. And guys, anybody who's listening to this right now needs to realize Julia walked in here, she shot a video, tagged us, tagged Mike, was like, oh wait, I follow you.
Right.
Right? Had no idea that she follows Mike. And the bottom line is, if you're doing this type of stuff, it means that you're like-minded, and people like us, when we meet you, are going to be like, oh my God, how can I help you in any way possible? And that's the difference maker to me with people who leverage social and don't. And it could be somebody as big as Ryan Serhant who feels the same exact way, because if you're doing it and you're putting yourself out there, because we're all fucking insecure, let's be real. Right? Do I have a booger in my nose? Am I do I look good? Is my beard whatever? At the end of the day, if that stops you from doing it, you're literally jeopardizing your business and potential.
Absolutely.
Are you guys are you on LinkedIn as well?
I am, but I don't really use it, and I should. And that's one of the platforms that I have to tap into.
Push.
I think that's the most powerful. I was on LinkedIn way before Instagram.
You're B2B though, more
B2B.
so.
But I'm saying you have a lot of high net worth individuals that you deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I think LinkedIn would work for her.
It would, of course.
Do you get listings from Instagram?
Believe it or not, yes. I have gotten some deals within the last few years because people realize that They see my authenticity. They see that I'm hustling. They see that I'm literally all over the place, and nobody even realizes that yes, I sleep, but I barely sleep because I'm like thinking, what's next? What's next? And that's part of just who I am as a person. But also, I have no choice but to get up every day and
Just
succeed
grind.
and grind. And there is no room for failure, although I do love failure. And I was actually talking about this last week. I was on a panel and someone asked a question. One of the questions was, what would you say to a new entrepreneur or somebody that's getting into the business? And I say, don't be afraid of failure and embrace it. And I love that, because it really gives you an opportunity to learn from any of the mistakes and, through your community, learn how to leverage and how to make those changes so that you are successful and you continue to learn. And we're obviously still evolving every single day.
Everyone's learning every day, right?
Totally.
And if you haven't failed, you're not going to succeed. Like,
Right.
Failure is, people tell me I haven't failed. I mean, then you have to fail to get to the next level. You got to learn.
Right.
That's the
I
same
love that.
person who
And same
calls
thing like-
themselves like self-made, when at the end of the day, like if you didn't have the team of people around you, you wouldn't be shit, right? It's just kind of like ego taking over and
Right.
not giving the people that deserve the credibility for an individual success their flowers.
I also find it interesting that social, obviously, it's very much real and fake. And there's a lot of people out there that are not realistic and they're not telling their true self, right? So
Well, it's tough to
eventually
do
you start
because
to
people live in fear of other people's opinions.
right. But once you step outside of that and you stop worrying about what everyone else is thinking about what you're doing and what you're saying, and you step outside of that comfort zone or insecure zone to get into the comfort zone,
Yeah.
then you start to realize that you can maximize on your own personal business and your own personal brand, because we're all individual. Even though we work under a company or under an umbrella, we're constantly evolving, and we want to just continue to show up.
I'm gonna plug something here for a mutual friend and contact and somebody that we look up to. So Jen Gottlieb's new book, Be Seen. I think everybody who's interested in what we're talking about should go out and buy her book and understand the importance of doing all the things we're talking about. And Jen is now speaking at the Serhant event
Yes,
next
I love
week,
her.
which is amazing.
Yes.
And it's really it's daunting and it's scary and it's all of the. By the way, like, I have people super close to me. I'm doing this for I don't even know how long at this point, 7-8 years religiously on social and just being myself, take it or leave it. And I have people super close to me that want to leverage the resources I have as a result of everything that I've done, that still talk shit about me doing what I do.
Right.
And the only people that would talk shit about it are people that are not doing it themselves and do not really understand the why. They're also the people that do not feel like they have to wake up every day and fucking win regardless of what the hell's going on, because the odds are stacked against all of us, but it's that grit and determination of dusting yourself off and getting back up because you have no fucking other option.
Absolutely. And what you realize is the people that support you, they could be a complete stranger or somebody that's close to you. Obviously, we hope that the ones close to us are the ones that support us and give us that extra drive to get up and keep fighting and getting through our days and be successful and cheer for all of us. Sure. But what I've learned, and I'm sure you could relate to this too, is, you try to help people out, and when it's after a while, when it's not reciprocated or acknowledged, you start to like pedal backwards, where you're like, okay, you know what, I'm going to keep you over here.
Yeah.
And I won't necessarily jump the next time you ask me for something.
Yeah.
Versus like where we have, I feel between all of us, we've all built a nice community around each other, right? And our communities and our relationships have helped us individually and also for our businesses.
Absolutely. Love that.
You used a key word earlier, connecting, right? And being a connector. And I think that's ultimately what we all have in common. It's also Jen and her husband Chris's company's name, I believe, is Super Connector Media. And I think that, again, people kind of at the top of their game are collaborating. They're not competing. And I think once you like get to a certain point that you're able to really understand the difference and you're adding value to people with no expectations in return, essentially, like you've won.
Right.
Yeah, just like that, no expectations. Like, I just want to be the person to give and give, and if I get back, that's what it is. But as long as I know that I'm doing the right thing and I'm helping other people, it's gonna come back. Karma's come back to you.
Right.
Couldn't agree more. So, Mike, you love residential real estate agents, and you love telling them that they can make more money if they incorporate business.
100%. Want me to
Please
tell you why?
Educate us on that, so Julia could hear it live for the first time.
All right. So how many real estate agents are in the United States right now?
A
There's
bazillion.
thousands.
Bazillion.
2 million real estate agents in the
Oh,
United
in the
States.
millions. Okay.
Yeah. For sure.
What percentage?
Well, hold on. Let's stop there for a second because there's so many people that have their license
And they don't do it.
That don't even practice.
100%.
Yeah.
What percentage don't make
Oh, you have the stat for that too.
80%?
He's a numbers guy.
I have to, because I'm going to sell you right now. So 80% don't make money in residential. Only the 20% do. Okay.
By the way, that's every business.
That's every business, except business brokering. So there are 30 million businesses in the United States right now. It's a lot. I don't think it's many homes. 20% are for sale at all times. So it means 6 million businesses are for sale. There's only 5,000 business brokers
There's only 5,000 business brokers in the United States.
in the United States, and there's 2 million real estate. Think about the difference: 5,000
Versus 2 million.
2 million. So, right now, every baby boomer is retiring. There's 10,000 baby boomers retiring a day. There's not enough manpower, to. It's just there's so much inventory out there, and there are so many buyers that want to buy. And like our job as business brokers is a little different. We always represent the seller and the buyer. So we're always making 8 to 12% commissions on our deals, which is great. And 90% of the time, there's no bank involved. So you don't have to wait for an appraisal. I know you have to wait for an appraisal. You don't have to wait for environmentals. Sometimes you do. Mm-hmm. But the deals happen 30 to 60 days.
Interesting.
It
And
is interesting.
there's just so much money to be made. I mean, I have people in my company making 7 figures in their 20s.
It's a much shorter like ramping period too, or at least it appears that way.
Yeah, I
based
mean,
on what you've built.
I have people that close deals their first 30 days.
That's in my world. That's like never happening.
Yeah, and then you get
Never
into the
happened.
businesses like I'm into car. I have pieces of car washes, so that's all residual income. So then you have that residual income, and then
Great
you have these
tax
big
shelter,
hits.
too.
Great tax shelter. You can depreciate. There's just so much you can do. So when you have all these different sources of income, it's just and it's so much fun. So much fun too.
Right.
So much fun.
So the majority of your business is based on Long Island.
For me, Long Island and Florida. But it's cool. It's a lot of fun. You pick a couple of niches and you just roll with it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
Interesting.
good stuff. Yeah.
Like the Roslyn, you're in Roslyn, right? So Kima, I know you know Kima,
Yes.
probably, right?
Oh, who
So-
doesn't know Kima?
Yeah, so it was a restaurant in
I don't
Huntington.
go there Thursday nights anymore. So
Oh, okay.
for those who are listening, I won't be there.
I'll be there on Monday.
Monday.
So I cold called Kima. I told the owner, I'm like, I have a perfect restaurant for you. I want you to come see it. It's in Huntington Village. So he's like, okay. So he went to see it. Literally, I sold it to him on the spot.
Wow.
It's Noema.
I heard it's really good.
It was a different. It was a different. My source came from Kima, and then they referred me to someone to buy Noema.
Got it.
But just making that one call, you want to expand.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's where like our worlds overlap too. Because again, like in the restaurant world where we do a lot of business, but we're doing it typically on the expansion of into like a new space that isn't necessarily second generation, right? But on the business brokerage side, you're handling a lot of folks that are actually acquiring existing businesses. And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quickly about the residential real estate market because I'm curious to get your take on where things are with the higher interest rates. You know, obviously we all hear that the market is way different today than it was whatever a year ago. Yeah, well, obviously during COVID for sure. But what's your take on what's going on right now? What's your experience? Can you shed some light on that?
So it's definitely slowed down a bit. However, I'm still very busy. I primarily have a lot of listings versus working with buyers. I do work with buyers, but what happens is I focus a lot more on my listings, and then I try to partner up with someone on our team to help me with the buyers, because there's only so many hours in a day, and I want to make sure that my clients are being treated with, you know, as much time and respect and urgency as they need. So what I've seen in the last few months is, you know, a lot of the buyers are pushing back a little bit, especially in the higher end over the $2 million mark. There are showings. They're not so quick to jump the gun on putting offers in. And a lot of the offers that are coming in are significantly lower than the asking prices. So, of course, it's very important to price our homes accordingly. And that's just across the board for how many years at this point. So, yeah, it's definitely dropped a bit. I'm lucky that I am still busy. I have the credibility at this point that sellers are confident with hiring me, and I am able to, whether it takes under 30 days or it takes a little bit longer. These days now it's pushing out a little bit further, where we're getting to the closing table a little bit further out, going under contract a little bit further out. Recently I've had a deal that did not make it to the closing table, but we are going back and forth on that. Again, we're seeing that there's less of the confidence in the sellers, because they want to make sure that these buyers could close and get their mortgage commitments. Yeah. And, you know, with the interest rates, it's really not, you know, and we hear this all the time. A lot of the buyers, they're seeking multiple properties. They're putting offers in, especially on like the $1.5 million and under. They're putting multiple offers in to see who bites. Sure. And then when they actually get the bite, then they start pedaling backwards, saying, oh, shoot, I have to either make a decision or keep it moving at this point. So I've seen that happen as well. Interest rates, hopefully, you know, stabilize a little bit within the next 6 months to a year. We don't know. No one has a crystal ball. Sure. And I'm just rolling with the punches every single day.
And you're busy. You're staying busy.
I'm staying busy. I still have business. I'm constantly marketing. I'm constantly out there. I think, like I said in the beginning, that nobody likes a secret agent, and they want to see that you're out there, but you're actually doing business, because anybody could get on social media and say, hey, I'm over here at this house in the backyard, but are you closing deals? Are you getting deals secured? Are you cultivating your sphere of influence? Are you cultivating outside influence and making those relationships? So
transacting.
Exactly.
Yeah, I actually think that for somebody like yourself, this is an amazing opportunity, right? So I always personally, like in changing environments where, you know, recessions, I'm in my business 23 years at this point. So I've been through plenty of downturns, lots of, you know, times that, you know, essentially weed out the people who are not necessarily willing to work hard. When I see your name, it's kind of like the definition of like hustler, grinder, you know, grit and things of that nature that I think it takes to be very successful in any sort of real estate, right? Or business brokerage, whatever it is. So, you know, for the listener, I think it's really important for people to realize that during those like slow times, like holidays, when other people are not working really hard, that's how the people that get ahead. Like there's no such thing as changing how hard you're working or your hours based on the calendar or the season or the economy. That shit does not matter at all if you're still putting your head down and working as hard as you would on a normal day where things are amazing and there's an amazing tide of deals happening. You're going to get further and further ahead, because of those 2 million real estate people in residential real estate, there's going to be a lot of them that are not willing to do what it takes to get outside of this environment, and that's awesome for Julia.
Yep, it is awesome, and I embrace it, and I love it, and I want those people to trickle away a little bit, and totally okay. I do think that grind and that hustle, it's instilled in us, and not everybody has it. They try, and I think everybody should try, but some people just don't have that mentality where for them, they're okay with closing 1 or 2 deals a year, but that's okay.
Sure.
Again, there's nothing wrong with that. For someone like myself, that I have really no choice whether to do this or go back to the corporate world where I'm working like a 9 to 5. This is a straight hustle. For me, it's a full-time gig. And the days that I'm slow, and again, everything goes in waves. So there's days that are slower. That's when I try to catch up on other things, do my errands or whatnot, and my self-care. And I'm a huge component. I'm a huge advocate for self-care and making sure that you do things that better yourself. So on those slower days when I know that, I wake up in the morning and yes, my first thing that comes to mind is, okay, what's going to make me money first? And once I get that done, then I focus on everything else for the day. And for me, I'm okay with continuing to grind every single day. And for those that aren't grinding, that's a personal preference. Again, there's no shame in it. And
yeah, and I feel like also like working hard is amazing, but I like to, I'm trying to think how to work smart too. Like, how do I make as much money as possible with working as little as possible?
Let me know when you get there because I need the help too.
Like that's my mindset right now. Like, how do I make as much? Like, obviously, I'll like my mindset is I can outwork anyone, but how do I make as much money as possible with as little time as possible? And
well, I think that a couple of things. I've evolved to how do I impact as many people as possible.
Yes.
And I think money doesn't lead, it follows, and I don't focus so much on the money. And if you're doing a really good job at helping people and you're focused on doing the right thing by people over time, and I like to steal Andy Frisella's term, aggressive patience, because ultimately, I am the most patient person in terms of decades, but I am the most aggressive person in terms of 24 hours. And that kind of combination of things, I think, creates greatness. And I think that understanding how to delay gratification is also something that comes when you get to a certain level of self-development where, again, kind of not acting out of ego. And the younger, previous versions of myself were very ego-driven and very, just not developed and, thinking that I was better than I am and focusing on the money and, all of that stuff that kind of comes with maturity and age and experience and things of that nature. And I think that's really where the biggest differentiation is, because when you talk about authenticity, you can't fake this shit.
No, of course not. Definitely not. And money, we need it to survive and to pay for our luxuries and the things that we want and be able to go on vacation and provide for our children and, go to Americana and go buy something for yourself as a treat or whatnot. But does it bring you that fulfillment? And you have to really tap into all the amount of focus that people put on money, money, money. Is that really fulfilling them and filling their cup?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. And a lot of it is fake. And I see it all the time. I work with a lot of high-end clients, and they're all going through stuff. And that's where I love to be that person, because I've literally almost lost everything, including my house, including, every part of my life. I lost my business. I was losing my husband. I lost any income that was coming in. And also I was essentially losing my mind also with the amount of stress that was coming into it. And no amount of money could ever fulfill that, right? So I was trying to do what I could to make memories. And to me, that was more valuable than the financial aspect of it. But you do need the financial aspect. So how do you balance both, where you're successful and you're making money so that you could pay the bills and survive and live day to day, but also what can you do secondary or on really on the same level where you're balancing it out and being able to enjoy what you're working so hard for.
Yeah, live in the present.
Right. And I've learned that too. I don't look into the future anymore. People always used to ask me, what's your 3-year plan, 5-year plan? I am a day-to-day kind of girl, and I've learned to stop controlling everything and certain situations that come into your life, whether it's business, personal, children, whatever the circumstances are. You have to learn to give up that control and just things will organically happen and you can't force certain situations. And the same thing with business. There's certain relationships that you may have or people that you might work with. And if it's just not meant to be and it's not working out, you know what? No hard feelings. It's just you keep it moving and you move on to the next. And I also think that my previous version of myself, I used to take everything so seriously. I used to be so hard on myself, and I'm still very hard on myself. Don't get me wrong. I'm always like second guessing things, but I've learned that in life, when you stop controlling things that are out of your control, that more opens up for you, and you become more in tune with yourself, more in tune with your business, more in tune with the people that you're working with and the relationships that you are building. And that is where you're able to just as a person expand and grow.
Yeah,
I love that. That's great.
Yeah. It just says a lot about your strength in all areas. And, it's not, sometimes I think it's easy for us to take for granted, and not necessarily live in the moment as well. I think that's really important what you said about future versus like being present in the presence. I have a tough time with that. I'm always thinking, I think and that actually reduces fulfillment, right? Because if you're always thinking about like, I'll be happy when I do this, when I get this car, when I did, right? Like we've all gotten that car and it like,
What do you do
you're
for
driving
you?
for 3 fucking weeks. And
Then you're over it.
I don't even care about this car, right? Like it's funny, and that's a real life example of, just realizing that those material things just never like they're not going to give you inner peace.
Right.
They're not going to give you fulfillment. And I truly believe that if you're not focused on yourself, a lot of people, when they hear like self-care and like focusing on yourself and putting yourself first ahead of your significant other, your children, your this, your that. Guys, if you're not able to focus on yourself and be present and feel good and pour from a cup that's full, you're no good to anybody.
Absolutely.
And we've all been to the place where we just feel like shit because we're running ourselves ragged, we're not happy, and so on and so forth. And I think that's the most important thing for people to realize. Like, to your point, like you have 24 hours in a day, you're not going to have the same energy focused on your business, and it's not going to need the same energy every day of every week. And you could take those times to spend the time on yourself. I could use every cheesy analogy in the book. Like oxygen mask on the plane like everybody else would use, and et cetera, et cetera.
But it's a matter of executing, right? So it's easier said than done. And a lot of people I'll have a conversation with and they're like, I don't understand. I don't have time to take care of myself. I'm too busy dealing with my children, my spouse, my divorce, my widowhood, and again, all different circumstances that I'm exposed to. Exactly. And okay, at some point you have to get up out of bed and realize, and I've been at that point where I was not strong and I felt that I was so underwater that I was just dragging myself through mud.
Yeah.
And nothing was working, and I just had such a negative feeling all the time. And
You're a victim.
Exactly. And that negativity brings on more negativity. Mm-hmm. So once you change that outlook and you start to do things a little bit differently, and again, everything takes time and it's not an overnight process, but once you start to really tune into yourself and your needs and obviously your self-care, certain things, whether I know for myself, exercise was my gateway drug. And I've talked about it before. I've been on a few newscasts in the morning talking about my journey and everything. And that was a non-negotiable for me. For me, exercise was the way for me to mentally just either put a podcast on or listen to music. It could be like, for all I care, like Tupac or whoever I was listening to, or a Jen Gottlieb, and I'll listen to that while I'm working out. So it just depends on my mood. But there's got to be something that everyone has to tap into for themselves that will get them up every day. And yes, one day good, one day bad, but everything goes in waves. But you can't stay down for too long without figuring out a way to pick yourself back up. And we all have a journey. We all have something that we're all dealing with, and we have to be kind to ourselves and realize that, we're all in a different circumstance. We have different businesses, different personal issues and traumas and situations that we're dealing with. And in order for us, if we're running our own businesses, in order to be successful, whether it's monetary wise or it's success wise, where our ego is up here and we're like, yeah, I'm feeling really good, and we should all feel really good. Oh my God, there goes my stuff. Sorry. So I start talking with my hands, and then we start. So yeah, we have to feel good about ourselves in order for our, for our children, for our spouses, for our non-spouses, for ourselves. Like, again, it's all relevant, and we have to just tune into our own personal mindset and how to find ways to just deal with the day-to-days, the stressors.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do want to say that, I think we've all been in dark places. We all have traumas, some, again, maybe more than others. And through tragedy, and developing resilience and learning how to cope with those things, for me, to stop using alcohol and other things to numb and actually sit with myself and deal with the loss of my mother as a kid and all those things, it's actually, it's not easy to do. I don't want to sit here as this guru that at my age now thinks that these things are easy to do and to achieve and to accomplish and so on and so forth. It's not the case, and I know that there are a lot of people that are in that place that we've been in, essentially, that are like, that's great, guys, I haven't gotten that car, and I haven't this, and I haven't that, and I'm not at that stage. You guys sound like fucking idiots, and you're unrelatable. And I think I want everybody to realize that it takes a lot of work for a long time, and I still deal with things every day, and I'm not better than anybody, and I truly believe that, right? And I feel like every day that I wake up, I'm starting from scratch. And I truly believe that. And that's kind of, that's probably a sickness in and of its own, where I just never feel like I've really accomplished anything, and I don't deserve that thing, so to speak. And that's something that I just deal with on my own. But I just, I want to reiterate that, it's not easy to get to a place of being in harmony with yourself. And being able to, focus on the different buckets and try to, pour the same amount into each of them. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work and a lot of reflection and a lot of, self-care and working with other people who can help you as well. I think it's important to point that out, because I think on a lot of podcasts like this, when you have people like us talking, it does sound like we're trying to say it's easy for everybody to achieve.
But there are resources. Yeah. So I think a lot of people need to realize that they shouldn't feel ashamed with certain situations that they're in, and they should always reach out. There's always somebody else out there that is going through something. So whether you're running a business and you're confused on how to run your accounting, or you're dealing with a loss of some sort, or you're dealing with a mental, breakdown or whatnot, again, there's always someone that you can connect with. And I think from a connecting perspective, that's where I think we have a gift, where there's always somebody that we could connect to or help with our resources to get to the right person that will help us achieve our goals and get through the hard days, the good days, and keep us level-headed and work together.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, resourcefulness.
What is, in closing, what would you say is some advice that you would give to a younger person, even if it's your younger self, right? Like starting out in business,
Yep.
whatever it is, kind of continuing with that thought, if you could help people compress time by using and learning from your mistakes and so on and so forth, what is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's a little bit earlier on in life or in their career, about getting to maybe where you are now faster if they knew this thing?
So, not really being faster, but again, some things take time. I would say that don't try to rush anything. Speaking of speed and being fast, stay in your lane, be confident with yourself, go into things willing to learn. You're not an expert. We're never going to be an expert at anything because we're constantly evolving. And whether they're doing it for one day or 100 years, you should always continue to learn and expand and connect with the right people. I do believe that when you're starting out, just grasp and connect with everybody. That has always been my number one tool and piece of advice, that we should always just stay focused and be resilient.
Absolutely. Exhaust all engines, Take it to the level, take it to the ball should never be in your court. Take it always to that level.
Yeah, I love that. Julia, where can everyone find you?
So I am building a website. It should be done by next week.
Nice.
So I'm very excited about that. So it'll be juliakrispeal.com. So very, very
Awesome.
boring, but even though I'm not a boring person, but I just kept it easy and simple. So that's where I will have everything there relating to real estate, relating to lifestyle, connecting with me as far as widowhood, the ALS world. And again, even though I don't like going into like a dark, grim journey of ALS, I still think it's very important for me to talk about it. It's part of who I am. I think that through the strengths and the weaknesses that I've been exposed to in these last few years, it could only help others, and not just with personal reasons, but for business reasons as well. And I am happy to connect with anybody and assist anyone and talk to anyone, and I'm just here. So.
Amazing. Well, thank you. Actually, you did bring up one other thought. When you're talking into the camera on social, is that therapeutic to you at all? Like, do you use that as either accountability tool, or like, does that help you in any way?
So I am still getting out of my comfort zone with talking into a screen.
You wouldn't know it.
No, you wouldn't know it because I love talking face to face. But when it comes to a camera, for some reason, I always end up freezing. And I'm sure a lot of people could relate to that.
Sure.
So I am learning to just not care so much about what others think and be authentic and just talk openly about whatever the topic is. I hate getting on camera and like, the cliche, get in front of a house, like here we are, a 5-bedroom house, blah, 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 and that's great and all, but I think there's different ways of getting in front of a camera. So I am definitely getting to that point.
Yeah.
And again, doing these podcasts, doing some segments on TV, that's all helping me gain the confidence that I need in order to continue to grow. And I am listening to different podcasts as well and different tutorials on how to get out of my comfort zone. And I think everybody should embrace that because we have so many tools and resources available to us, and you're just as good as the next person, but how do you stand out from everyone else? And I think that's where being on camera and learning how to articulate certain things, and I'm still learning. Again, I'm very street smart. I'm not like the book smart girl, so I'm still learning to just get out of my comfort zone and really, really hone down on being in front of a camera.
I think that's great. I think a lot of people will get a lot of value from that, because when they look at your socials and they see you, you wouldn't think that you're in your head about the camera.
I'm so in my head.
And it's funny because I think, one kind of tip and piece of advice for people is it's practice.
Yes.
Right? Like initially when that camera's there, you're actually aware the camera's there, right? Years later, you don't even know there's a camera in the room.
Right.
And you're completely comfortable doing anything and saying anything and you're just yourself. And that only comes with practice. So, and this is like a Jen Gottlieb thing or anybody who practices these things, you should be going live on Instagram because it's uncomfortable. You should be talking to your camera. It's actually the question I asked you. I don't know if you do it or don't do it, but for me, when I literally talk into the camera about like what's on my mind, that's kind of all I do at this point. I don't really create intentionally. Brittany and I have been way more intentional than we are right now, and than you are, right? You're at that stage. It's all like you're creating specific pieces about these things. And at a certain point for me, it's just therapeutic, where I'm just talking to myself in the camera. And it's like, it's so strange, but it's an outlet for me.
Yes.
Almost like a psychiatrist, like I'm just talking to myself.
And you're stepping out of your comfort zone.
100%. And that's all it is. Like,
Right.
I seek discomfort because everything that's uncomfortable to me right now, I can guarantee you a year from now.
No one's going to care.
No, I don't care.
You're not gonna care.
It's not even close to uncomfortable.
Right.
It's like, what's the next uncomfortable thing? So I just throw yourself in those situations because they do become comfortable.
Right. I think just do it. Just do it.
do it.
And just get out of your head and stop worrying about what everyone else thinks. And same thing with what to post.
Yeah.
I used to be very picky and very controlled about what am I posting? Is this going to look bad? Is that going to be a bad look? Is that too much? Is that too, you know what? At the end of the day, you are who you are, and embrace it and showcase your true self. And if you want to show yourself eating a chocolate cake today for lunch, so be it. And that's it.
That's
what
a
I'll be
mic
doing.
drop moment right there. we're done here. We're going to leave you with that thought. If you want to eat lunch and take a picture of it and it's a chocolate cake, go for it. Julia.
Oh gosh, I have a call that I'm missing. See what
You're
happened?
amazing. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so
and
much.
Thank you so much for joining
Yeah, you're
us.
amazing.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, guys.
Thank
This
you.
was fun.
Awesome.